Okay, take it away.
Great. Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining this GetFTR webinar. We're excited to have you. Some names that we have been in touch with, some familiar names, also maybe some new people that are less familiar with GetFTR. Welcome very much to all of you. My name is Hilke Koers. I'm the Chief Information Officer for STM Solutions and the Program Director for GetFTR. And we are at the moment in GetFTR, you are joining us at this webinar at an exciting time where on the one hand, we see continued growth on how GetFTR is being used, working with some of the additional use cases and the problems that GetFTR sets out to solve. We have some invited presentations that will talk about the value that GetFTR is delivering to them. And on the other hand, it's a time where we are introducing some new features that we have been developing, that we've been working hard on, that really extend the value proposition of GetFTR. And all of that we'll cover in this webinar today. Could you move to the next slide, Heather? So also delighted that we are joined by two speakers who will talk about their experiences as an integrator, a party that has a service that integrates with GetFTR. Today we have Eva Weiner from APA and Jay Patel from Cactus, and they'll speak a little bit about their experiences so far. Before we get started, just two items of housekeeping. The first is that we will be recording the session and making it available through the GetFTR website. And the second point is we will do questions and Q&A at the end. So if you do have a question during the presentations, feel free to already put that in the chat or the Q&A feature. We are using Zoom webinar today, but we'll address them at the end of the presentations. Thank you all. And with that, let me hand it over to Heather Staines as our Outreach Chief for GetFTR. Heather, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Hilke. It's wonderful to be here presenting today. Just a little quick overview in case some of the folks who are joining are not familiar or need a little bit of a refresher about GetFTR. GetFTR was developed and sponsored mainly by the organizations that you see depicted here on the right side of your screen. To close that gap between discovery and research, to accelerate that, to improve access and ensure that researchers get to trusted research. I'm not going to read, everything, here on the slide, but some of the highlights of the GetFTR service are the signaling mechanism that's provided to researchers regardless of where they start their discovery journey, including subscription, open access, and free content. To smoothen the authentication process where they will not hit unexpected login, username, and password difficulties. And it's free, as the discovery services who are joining today are aware, free for integrators. And we now see, as the service has evolved, that publishers are integrators and reference lists are integrators. So it's just very exciting to see that all come along. So just a quick peek again behind the scenes. Our researcher starting her journey, putting in her search terms or her DOIs behind the scenes, the GetFTR API contacting the participating publishers for the DOIs that will populate her list. Those publishers providing response back about the entitlements for those individual articles, and her being able to go through and get to that. So this provides highly accurate responses that are completely automated, reducing the opportunity that there will be metadata mismatches. Real-time API-based interaction, so again, more speedy than something that requires a manual process. And very, very granular in that it's DOI-based. And to find OA articles within those hybrid journals, this is increasingly important over time. So a little bit on how it looks when it's working. This is a shot from the GetFTR discovery site. So you can see the little indicators here below the search results for vitamin D. The first article being an OU Press article. And the indicator with the view PDF button showing going through, then going back to the search list, regardless of where the participating publisher, who the participating publisher is, those indicators will be available and the researchers can utilize those results in a timely fashion. Just a couple of ways to depict how the user flow works. Again, a kind of peek behind the scenes. On the left-hand side, this is a discovery service showing both Elsevier and Wiley articles. In the first instance, the user selects that Elsevier journal. If they are not IP authenticated or signed in through their institution, they will be directed through their institutional login flow one time. Then they land on the PDF. But when they go back to their search results in the discovery flow, as long as they stay within the participating publisher ecosystem, they go through to their articles without the need to authenticate again. The GetFTR community continues to grow. On the right-hand side, you see both the presses and the integrators, discovery services that have set up GetFTR. We're covering 5 billion entitlement requests per year. You can see in the little bar chart on the left-hand side how that continues to grow nicely and handling more and more decisions per week. And a few examples of how indicators can be seen in the whole variety of tools that our integrators are using. The left-hand side shows the Semantic Scholar integration. Sorry, I'm moving some things out of the way on my screen. Oops. So the Semantic Scholar is an example of a website indication. So you can see there the access PDF via your institution button with a little graphic depicted. Sorry, things are like covering my screen. The second example is the Researcher app, which is optimized for a mobile display in this instance. And so the integration there just shows a little GetFTR indicator to the left of the title and embeds the link behind. The third example that you see there is an example of a browser extension integration. So the user, where there is a DOI displayed or where we can get an author title match, it will indicate the view PDF button there in the search results. And then over on the left-hand side, you can see a couple of indications about how the reference lists for publishers might display, both in the flexibility around the button selection or the hover state that can indicate what the status of the article is, whether it is a subscription or free, and the like. So lots of options there that should meet everyone's UI needs. And I will hand over momentarily to our first guest speaker, who's joining us today, Eva Weiner. She leads the strategic development of the American Psychological Association. I knew I was going to do that. So many APAs. PsychNet, the search platform built for discovery and delivery of social and behavioral science content. Her background spans psychology, product management, and UX design, making her the perfect presenter for us here today. And she brings to us more than 2 decades of experience in scholarly publishing and has successfully led agile teams at APA and implementing innovative search solutions to boost research content discovery as well as user engagement. And Eva's going to do a few slides and then she's going to switch us over into a live demo. Take it away, Eva.
Thank you, Heather, for the introduction. I'm going.
Maybe can you hear us? We heard you there for a moment and then we lost you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
You are back.
Okay. So the classic APA PsycInfo database is an ANI database published by APA and is widely used, as Heather mentioned, in academia for content discovery in psychology and behavioral sciences. It's very well known for its extensive coverage, comprehensive indexing, metadata, and citation tracking. You can track psychological theories and practices over several centuries, all the way back to 1600s, I believe. So current research includes publication. Next slide, please, Heather. Current research includes publications from 2,400 journals, books, chapters, and dissertations. There's several flavors of PsycInfo on different search platforms, but as with any ANI database, all of them have certain limitations when it comes to seamless access to full text, and sometimes require quite sophisticated queries to get to the latest research in a specific field. So to overcome these limitations, we introduced years ago a new platform complementary to the classic SciInfo that is AI driven and features integrations with GetFTR and the suite of analytics tools that allow researchers to personalize content discovery and monitor the latest research trends in their areas with a pretty effortless way. The content on the database can be discovered and analyzed on the fly just by landing on the platform, which is open to any researcher with valid institutional entitlements to the classic PI, or researchers who choose to subscribe to personalized research updates have an advantage of building their personal mini PsycInfos tailored to their interests with additional content from other sources, including PubMed, preprints, and conferences. When we integrated immediate access to full text with GetFTR links, it significantly enhanced the efficiency of research and improved user experience and satisfaction with PsycInfo. Based on the survey results, users discover articles they wouldn't have otherwise seen and save a tremendous amount of time in locating full text. Next slide, please. So we are using deferred authentication that Heather explained, where the institution provides authentication when the first article link is clicked on. Since we already had an MFA type authentication service for verifying PsycInfo entitlements, we were able to map institutional IDs to SAML entity IDs using MarkLogic repository without requiring users to look up and select their institution. It took 3 developers about 2 months to implement various GetFTR scenarios, and we're sending about 250 to 175 calls to GetFTR per day to the entitlements API. And the most challenging part in the implementation was testing the institutional entitlements, since APA doesn't have a lot of entitlements of its own. We implemented, it's probably time for me then to share my screen for the live demo to show where we implemented the GetFTR links.
Okay, we can see your screen. Thank you.
Just a minute.
I think you want your first tab there at the top.
Okay. So this is the card interface we use to display the research feeds. My own interests include neuroscience applications to robotics, and there's quite a lot of recent articles on that topic. You can see I have a lot of free access to permanently free open access content. but I also have access to full text provided by APA. So this link takes me seamlessly to the chapter I'm interested in, and you can see that access provided by my institution. There are also links on individual metadata records that work the same way, and we provide links on related content recommendations. There's also a mix of open access and paid content provided by the institution. This record happens to be from the Journal of Social Robotics, and I can land on this view that has additional layers of analysis. I can build different filters here by selecting most prolific authors, topics, track them over time, and explore the content of the journal by creating all these filters. So the links on the articles allow me to, again, seamlessly connect to the supported publishers and to the open access. And we constantly adding different analysis tools for more precise content discovery to the platform. And we hope that they can stimulate new research insights and discoveries with easy access to full text. Thanks, Heather. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Let me stop sharing.
Okay, back to my sharing here. Okay, thank you for that, and we will have some questions and discussions for Eva when we get to that portion of today's program. I'm happy now to welcome our second guest speaker of the day. Two guest speakers, always better than one. Jay Patel, who I've known for quite a while as a business development professional with Cactus Global. And Jay specializes in working with publishers and professional societies on the implementation of AI solutions. So as you may guess, he's in hot demand right now. He wants to improve the user experience by using AI to better classify content, make content easier to discover and find, build custom collections, simplify it, and personalize the content. He also leads the SDG initiative at Cactus. Previous to Cactus, he advised various startups, developing solutions in a number of different verticals. When he's not working on AI solutions, which is I find it impossible to believe that he's never not working on AI solutions, he likes to goof around with his kids, read and listen to a podcast, spend time in the garden, or go for a walk. Thanks for joining us today, Jay, and I will share the slides for you. So.
Oh, great. Thank you. Well, thanks everyone for attending this webinar, and thank you to Heather, Diane, and Hilke for the invitation. Really enjoyed what Eva had to present. It's really cool integration of GetFTR. If we can go to the next slide. Yeah. So I've been working on the art discovery platform now for about 3 years. So it started as an idea in the sense that what more could we do with AI to help improve discovery, organization, access, and consumption of research content? I think there's some animations on this slide. I don't like animations at all, but I think this was made by someone else. Um, but yeah, the whole purpose of our discovery was to help with things like literature review, curating reference lists, keeping up with latest research, and of course, going mobile first with the whole user experience or the reader experience when it comes to research papers. And so that's where we started with building out our discovery over 3 years ago. Next. So our discovery numbers over the past 3 some odd years, we've grown to over 3 million users globally. Majority of those users actually come from emerging markets. And then within that, a majority of those come from low middle income countries, where mobile devices are really the way that users access almost all content, from news to video, audio, as well as research papers. Our index includes over 250 million records, and that's journal articles, patents, preprints, seminars, conference proceedings, book chapters. So it's a really wide collection, and we look through over 32,000 journals. We're really happy that our app is, I think, the top rated app in this space, both on Apple and Android. And we have over 60,000 ratings and over 4.6, which our key focus is the user experience, and user satisfaction. So we are constantly pushing new updates to our app. So if you have our app, you'll probably see like every week we're updating it with something new, making improvements, or launching new features. And within our records, we also include over 40 million open access papers. And we've also developed a collection of it's probably well over 10 million topics now, that we have extracted from the records that we have ingested. Next. All right. So I'm just going to go through a real quick product overview. It won't take long. So when the user comes in, they download the app. When they come in, they're asked to sign up. And on sign up, they can select a few topics that they want to follow and journals that they want to follow. Once they're done with that, they're on their homepage. We have these tiles, which are basically set up to give them access to content very quickly. And as you can see here with our GetFTR integration, which we did maybe a little under 3 years ago now, we also include a tile for paywall papers. So we want to make it as easy as possible for the user to get to paywall papers. So GetFTR works beautifully on the back end for us. It makes all those really neat connections between the user and their institute entitlements. And then to make it even more simpler, we just deposit all of the papers that they have entitlements to into this paywall feed. So all they have to do every day is go in, click on the button, and then they'll see a list of papers that they have access to through their institution. There's some more animations on here as well, but we can just speed through that. So this is what a feed looks like, and it's all customized based on the topics you follow. And then on each article card, you have the ability to say relevant, not relevant, and you can also select if you want to follow or unfollow a topic. And then you also have a list of topics that you can look at. There's a feed setting where you can go and you can prioritize or deprioritize specific topics within your feed. Next, please. All right. So here's where we all came for, which is really the relationship between our discovery and GetFTR. And the reason why we integrated was when we talked to our users, one of the biggest challenges they had was that they could not access research. And so we started looking around to figure out, okay, how do we do this? We know open access is pretty easy. You drop a PDF, you drop a link, they get easy access to it. But there's still plenty of great research that is not open access. And a lot of our users have access to it from their institutions, but sometimes they don't know that they have access to it. So by plugging in GetFTR, we really simplified that process. So we want to help them keep up with the latest research. We want to help them discover the most relevant articles. And that could be both open access, preprint, or paywalled. Just the fact that research is paywall doesn't mean that folks shouldn't have access to it, but there should be routes to getting access. And many times they have it through their institution, but they just don't know about it, or it's cumbersome to get access to it from their institution. We also focus on researchers with limited resources. So as I mentioned, we have a majority of our users come from developing economies, emerging markets, and many of those come from low middle income countries where they don't have a computer or the ability to go to a library and access the stuff. So we bring it right on their mobile phone. And as I mentioned, many researchers don't know that their institute has access. For better or worse, a lot of the library platforms also haven't kept pace with technology. So that creates yet another barrier for users. And that's really why we really wanted to integrate with GetFTR. Next, please. Right. Ooh, more animations. Great. So this is the way that we would the flow for the user when they come into the app. What we do is we do ask them to add their institution, so they can go and they can go to the Add Institution tab, and then they can search for their institution. Once they set up their institution, as I mentioned, we will start filling up their paywalled feed. So then all they have to do is go into the feed and engage with it on a daily basis. We also have an open access feed. We have a preprint feed. There's a lot of different feeds within the app that you can take advantage of. Um, and and the integration is actually quite simple because we provide the list of articles they have access to. They can click on it. They can click to the original site, and then they would verify themselves at the institution level. They don't verify themselves directly in the app itself. So we try to keep it as as quick and easy as possible for the user to get to the content that they need. Next, please. All right. And then this kind of shows what the selection process is. You search for it, you select your institution, and once you do that, you're pretty much ready to go. There, it's we try to keep it as light as possible. Next, please. All right. So what does the data say in regards to our integration of GetFTR? Well, we've been really satisfied in the sense that we get about a 30% conversion rate from when someone lands on the institute search page to actually adding their institution. One of the barriers that we found is not all institutions are within that search, within that search space. But I do know the team at GetFTR is doing a fantastic job of trying to bring in more institutions and add to that list, which we're happy for, because that's one of the main things that we hear back from users is, hey, I can't find my institution. And we've I think the relationship has been really good where we provide that feedback, and the GetFTR team has done a really good job of trying to add more institutions. What we have realized over the last several years is when a user does add their institution to the profile, we end up retaining them more than 3 times higher than if someone doesn't add their institution. So GetFTR is really a very sticky thing for users because it makes it so easy for them to get access to the content that they need. We've also found that users that have added their institution are 2 times as more engaged as users who haven't added their institution into their profiles and who may not have access through GetFTR. And of course, users have also told us that, hey, we can access all these subscription content much faster. Which just helps us improve the user experience, which is our key goal here with the app. And it also helps greatly increase full text views, by 20%. And we've also seen a lot of interest from researchers in both developed and emerging markets. So, we have a pretty good mix between the two. Next, please. All right. And then these are the, when it comes to the countries where we get most of these users from that do engage with GetFTR, it's the, within the advanced economies, I mean, the US, the UK, Japan, Sweden, South Korea. You can read them on the screen. As far as emerging and developing economies, we have India, Indonesia, South Africa, Philippines, the usual characters, where we see the most traffic from. Next, please. And top institutions. I don't think any of these will surprise you, such as MIT, UCLA, or IIT Delhi, Oxford, Cambridge, Sao Paulo, and of course within the continent of Africa, we get Pretoria, Johannesburg. Most of them are from South Africa, but we are seeing more and more traffic filter in from other areas of Latin America, Asia, and Africa as well. And the top publishers, we have agreements, content agreements with all of these publishers, and we work very closely with them to make sure that their content is easily discoverable. And so GetFTR just helps make that even better for us. Next, and that's it. So thank you very much. I really appreciate being a part of this webinar, and thank you for the invite, and thank you for joining.
Thanks so much, Jay. And I will say, for those of you who are interested in learning more specifics, there's a case study that Cactus put together that's available on the GetFTR website. And with that, I will hand over to Diane Benham.
Thanks, Heather. Okay. I have a couple of slides, and I will cover both the latest GetFTR features and where we're heading in 2024. So the latest version of the GetFTR API provides faster entitlement decisions for discovery tools and other platforms that integrate. And this is because GetFTR can now take entitlement decisions on behalf of publishers, and that's publishers that have shared their entitlements with GetFTR. Currently, 2 publishers do this, and we're encouraging other publishers to do the same to further reduce latency. The API also provides links to more than 30 million freely available DOIs provided by the free GetFTR OA and free service. And that includes 8 million from publishers that don't participate in GetFTR. And additionally, our most recent launch, discovery tools can now signal to researchers where a document has been retracted or updated. I have more on this on the next slide. But before we move to that slide, if we do have any, well, obviously we have discovery tools on the call today, but a reminder to those that already integrate that you should migrate to the latest API by the end of this month. All that's required is a change to the URL, and if you're unable to meet this deadline, please get in touch and we'll redirect your requests. Moving on to the next slide. So as I mentioned, GetFTR has extended its service and now provides retraction and errata information. And this is now available to all discovery tools and other platforms that integrate with GetFTR. And it will enable them to display a retraction or update button at the point of discovery, alerting the researcher to integrity issues with the document. Data is sourced from Crossref and Retraction Watch and includes types such as retraction or correction, date, and source. Retraction errata information will now be provided regardless of whether the publisher participates in GetFTR, so all content that's registered at Crossref, and whether the researcher has access to the full text or not. So you may see that red retraction button regardless of the, what color do we call that, greeny blue view PDF button. The retraction and errata feature is already available to researchers that use the GetFTR browser extension. The screenshot at the top right shows a GetFTR button and retraction button that were added for an article by the GetFTR browser extension while I was using Google Scholar. The GetFTR button indicates that I have access to the full text, and the retraction button indicates that the document was retracted. If I click on the retraction button, I'm taken to the GetFTR document status page at the bottom left, which provides more information in a timeline format about changes to the document. The GetFTR document status page is available for all discovery tools to link to if they wish. The GetFTR integrator specification and usability guidelines have been updated to include retraction and errata and are available from our website. And if you already use GetFTR for entitlement checks, again, please contact me so that we can enable the retraction and errata service. If you don't use GetFTR and would like to, please also get in touch. Final slide, Heather. So what's next for GetFTR? We're working on a number of roadmap items, which we hope will further improve the service. Publishers and discovery tools have asked GetFTR to support perpetual rights. So when a journal is transferred from one publisher to another, we plan to store all DOI and publisher affiliations so that we can send entitlement requests to publishers that currently or previously owned the content. Publishers and integrators have also asked if GetFTR can play a role in streamlining or replacing the KBART process. So we'll start exploring this soon. We also plan to add click data to integrator and publisher reports, which are available via the GetFTR portal, as we're now able to measure clicks. Additionally, we're looking at GetFTR playing a role in supporting on and off platform usage aggregation for syndication arrangements. More on this soon. We'll continue to enhance the GetFTR browser extension, and we'll add GetFTR buttons to all pages where a DOI is located. And also we hope to add GetFTR buttons to earlier versions where the researcher has access to the latest version. And lastly, yeah, it was great to hear from Eva and Jay today and to see how they've integrated with GetFTR and the value it's brought to their researchers. We'd love to hear from other discovery tools that have integrated on the call. And we'll be sending out a survey soon, so please keep an eye out for this. Thanks so much. I think it's back to you, Hilke.
Yeah, thank you, Diane. And I just want to say before we move into the into the Q&A session, that I am able from the participant list to allow you to talk. So if you do want to ask your question, I think that the chat should be working. You could just indicate that you would like to talk, or if the chat's not working, in your Q&A, just mention that you would like to talk, and I will enable that for you. Over to you, Hilke.
Excellent, and thank you so much to all of our speakers. It was great to hear these different perspectives on GetFTR and the experiences that you've all had. So opening it up for Q&A or comments, if people wish. We already have a few questions lined up in the Q&A, which I will take in order. But again, encouraging other people as well to ask any questions there, or let Heather know, and she will, with the power of Zoom webinar, will unmute you so that you can ask your question live. So let me start at the top. We have a couple of questions from an anonymous attendee. I'm not sure if it is the same anonymous attendee, but I'll just take them in order. First question asks, says, hi, the screenshot shows a link that says show PDF. Is that the only option, or can the button say show full text? Maybe I could start with that, and then Diane, you can maybe add if I'm missing any details. So there's a couple of options, a couple of UI options to present the GetFTR indicator into your website, into your front end. The button that GetFTR supports has the show PDF text indication in it. But if you are a party that integrates with GetFTR, you can also use your own button, your own styling, your own text. We do require that if you use GetFTR to establish that there is a pathway to the publication, that you do show that GetFTR indicator, because that will really lead to that recognizability and the trust, and giving researchers that really recognizable visual cue that they will be able to access the content. But you can also use that indicator in combination with your own button and your own call to action. So there is a bit of flexibility there. I think that answers that question. I also see Heather Steins is going to answer this question live. Heather, did you have something to add to that one?
I just I was trying to mark it, as answer.
Sorry.
And
Okay.
just to, again, highlight what you mentioned about the flexibility that we do provide. So get in touch.
And in terms of where the GetFTR link actually points to, so most researchers, according to our user research, would prefer that to point straight into the PDF. We know that some publishers prefer to initially send the researcher to an HTML rendition of the article, so we also allow for that. But it does need to be the full text article just behind the click of a button to really minimize the number of steps that users will need to take to get to the article or to get to the content that they are looking for. Let me move to the next question. I see some more questions are coming in. Fantastic. So please keep them coming. Then the second question is around usage reporting. And maybe Diane, could I ask you to address that one? I think that is where that sits with you.
Yeah, so thanks, Hilke. So we do have a GetFTR self-service portal, and it provides all the information we believe that you need to get set up and integrate with the service. It also provides a number of reports. The key report is in aggregate. So if you're a publisher, you'll see the total number of entitlement requests and your responses, and your responses are split by various, whether it's yes or no entitled, whether it's open access, free or paid content. There's also what we call a publisher dashboard, which shows the requests coming in from each of the integrators. That currently shows the number of entitlement requests for the last 24 hours, but we're looking to expand that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. The next question is a fairly straightforward one. Has anyone told Atipon about the change in the API? I'm hoping that they don't need me to let them know. The short answer to that is yes. We are in touch with some of the leading publishing platforms. We have good connections with them. So yes, they are very much aware of that. Next question is from Julie. Hi, Julie. Good to see you here. Asking if we could say something more about K-BART analysis. Maybe, Diane, do you want to start with that? I could maybe add a little bit of color, but maybe you want to pick that up.
So we haven't started this work yet. It's probably the sort of key thing to say at this stage, but we have had a couple of publishers come to us to say, can GetFTR replace or streamline the process? So the first thing that we need to do as a product team is get very familiar with K-BART, as familiar as some of you are on the call. We'll probably be coming to you with questions as well. I mentioned earlier on the call that publishers have started sharing entitlements with us. So something we could look at is potentially GetFTR providing K-BART files as a first step. But more on this soon.
Yeah, Julie, I hope that answers your question. I can enable you to answer live if you'd like. I don't know if I was able to do that. Julie?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
I'm glad that worked. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a very interesting feature. I just wonder if you have got in contact with anybody from the K-BART Standing Committee to talk about the any issues that may be involved.
I think that's a good yes. I think we definitely should get in contact with that committee, Julie. That's a good idea.
And you also say like you got the entitlements from the publishers. So when you say you're going to do the K-BART analysis, that's the K-BART analysis based on that individual customers. So like a customized, right? The K-BART list for each publisher who shared these entitlements with you.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but that's something really new. I have to think about it before I can ask more questions. But thank you very much.
If you have further questions, Julie, please get in touch after the webinar.
Sure. Thanks.
Maybe to extend that invitation, if this resonates with other people, please do reach out. This is still very early days for us. We need to start the ideation on this idea, but really coming from the point that a couple of publishers that are participating in GetFTR have asked us to analyze if there is anything that GetFTR could do to help streamline or enhance some of those that existing infrastructure. So that's the point of departure. Let me move on to the next question. Jose Ashap asks, as a discovery tool, do I need to pay to integrate GetFTR in my tool? The answer to that is no. So our sustainability model is such that we ask publishers for a fee, and that's a tier-based structure depending on sort of the size of your publishing operation, but it is free for integrators for parties that wish to integrate with GetFTR. So if that raises your level of interest, please do reach out to us as well, and we'd love to talk further. Thank you for that. Another question from anonymous attendee: is there a presentation from a publisher side experience integrating with GetFTR, or may that be coming up soon? I think the answer is both. Yes, we've had similar webinars like the one today, but focusing a little bit more on the publishing experience in the past. For today, we felt it would be timely to focus on the integrator experience. You will find some links to those existing webinars, either the GetFTR website or the STM website, or we could maybe follow up and point you in the right direction, but we definitely have those. And I expect we'll be organizing another sort of more publishing centric GetFTR webinar soon as well.
I just wanted to just jump in for a second to say that I thought that both of the presentations today were extremely interesting. I've been thinking about the abstracting and indexing use case for quite some time now, and hearing, you know, from publishers that have ANI services and also libraries that subscribe to them, that they're kind of wondering, you know, how things can be, you know, streamlined for users. So it's wonderful, Eva, to see what, you know, what you guys are doing in that regard. And then on the Cactus side, you know, Cactus had already integrated when I started with GetFTR, which is going to be 4 years ago in the fall. So whenever I can kind of get like an insight, I do appreciate that. And I think what's really interesting there is that, you know, Cactus is using the GetFTR service behind the scenes to customize that feed for researchers. And Chorus also has a use case with GetFTR, which is a little bit behind the scenes. So if you're here today listening and you have a use case, which may not be something that immediately jumps to mind when you think of GetFTR, but you think, hey, I wonder, you know, if the API, you know, might be able to help in that context, or you know, additional services that you might want to develop, we would absolutely, you know, love to hear from you. And, you know, creativity is kind of one of our specialties here. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that addition, Heather. And yes, please, by all means, do reach out. Are there any other questions or comments? I'm looking at the Q&A tab here. Looking at the chat as well. I don't think there's anything in there. Last opportunity for people to ask questions or to raise and give us any suggestions or recommendations or things that we should be looking at to do good on that promise of great creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Going once, going twice. All right, then let me close the webinar. Thank you all so much for being here today, for participating. Thank you very much to all the participants, people who took some time out of the day to join us here at the webinar. And of course, big thank you to our speakers, Heather, Diane, Eva, Jay. Thank you so much for your presentations. And we hope to continue the discussion offline or in the next webinar. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.